of Extraordinary Atheists for Humanism, where we attempt to apply logic and reason to religion and politics. I'm here with my wonderful, beautiful co-host, Christy Santiago.
Hey guys, happy Friday. Hope everybody had a relatively good week with everything that's going on across the country. I hope everybody is staying safe and staying not sick, or as I would like to say, not as I have been for the last, I feel like, month. And we have a couple good topics for you guys tonight. I'm excited actually. Not that I'm not excited each week, but I like when I learn something new and I want to share it with our friends. So here we are on a Friday in February where many of our friends are dealing with blackouts and rolling blackouts and grids just can't handle it. And so my little tip on that to anyone who's listening is your senator. That's your senator. You want to help the post office? Write them a letter, buy a stamp, and let them know you would like money to be spent on infrastructure. And that's all I have to say about
Yeah, there's really not much else you can do right now.
that. No.
No. I mean, there is something you can buy more blankets.
Yes. Yes, and battery heated blankets, you guys. Sending them heated blankets that have to be plugged in is very rude.
How you think they may be?
You're going to have to turn yourself up just a little bit, Mac, because I can barely hear you.
What? Come on. Do I just need to project?
But not in the automatic part, just in the regular volume.
Yeah, all right, I can do that.
And it'll stay this time.
There. How's
Look
this?
at that. I can, perfect. I heard how's this, and it was exactly the words you said.
I hope that trumpet sounds not like.
It was pretty good,
Yeah.
actually.
All right, so let's. I did want to say I'm actually we're freezing up here where I am, up here in the Antarctic. I mean, Ohio. That's the same.
Mac
thing.
actually lives around the ice wall that's holding the flat Earth together.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's really cold there.
Yeah, I live right on the edge. Look down at all y'all. And I can confirm it's turtles all the way down.
Isn't an elephant also?
No, there's no elephant. That's a myth. Now you're just being fucking crazy. You've gone too far down the rabbit hole if you think there's an elephant down there. Turtles all the way down.
Oh goodness.
All right. Okay. So we have stories, we have things to talk about, and I think the first thing to talk about is Venezuela. So I don't have a lot to cover on this, except here's a quick recap, and then here's a couple funny things on top of it. Over the last few years, the US of A has been trying to squash Venezuela's government. How, you may ask? Mostly by means of sanctions, and also by means of coup d'etats. But what was it last February or 2 Februarys ago? Time's weird now. Do you know, Christy?
Times are bananas.
Say what?
Times are bananas.
Times are bananas. Do you remember?
A-N-A-N-A-S. I said, okay. Oh, yes. UA ain't the best. Yay!
Yay!
I did that by myself.
All right. So
like
no, the thing I was asking though was has it been only 1 year since they drug like people out of the Venezuelan embassy in DC, or was that 2 Februarys ago?
You know, I would have to look. It feels like it could have been 7 years ago and this year. Unfortunately, I feel like we had Trump for like 19 years.
Yeah. No, it's
Right.
really. Anyway, so it's been a while.
Right.
And you know what?
Chicken butt.
It was 2 years ago, Christy, because during the State of the Union last
Yep.
January,
That's
they
right.
all clapped for Juan Guaido. Okay, so time passes slowly now. Also, very quickly, if you don't know, um, Nicolas Maduro, and even if the most you watch of the news is last week tonight, which isn't the worst thing to watch, you should know that Nicolas Maduro, the guy who likes to talk to birds, is the president of Venezuela. And I don't think he really talks to birds very much. But anyways, it's not as funny when he doesn't talk to birds. He is the rightful president of Venezuela. What would make him rightful? Winning a
democratically elected?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bingo.
I knew it was something I knew about.
Yeah, there was something like that. How does democracy work again? Oh, yeah. Hey, look, in all honesty, when you live in the US, sometimes you forget.
Right. Yeah. Take anything said from a United States citizen with a grain of salt. No, I'm just kidding. We are not our government. People from not here, we are not our government.
No.
Yeah. Just like the Saudi Arabian people are not their government. I'm sorry, they don't have a government. Their kingdom. Their king guards. Yeah, whatever. None of that makes sense in 2021.
Oh,
unless they have dragons. If they have dragons, okay, you're a kingdom. I get it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
No dragons. Drop the kingdom
to the throne if you have a dragon.
Exactly.
I would like to alter something I just said because I have a correction down in the live chat.
Okay.
Smitty said, "Sorry, Mac, but the leadership of Venezuela is up to the Pentagon and the CIA, not you." And I'm really sorry, guys. I didn't mean to just assert my thoughts as facts there. Thanks for the correction, Smitty. All right, so trying to move on ever so slowly, like time. How I explained this 2 years ago and ever since is Juan Guaido is basically the leader of the opposition party, opposed to Nicolas Maduro's party in Venezuela. And he said, yo, that democratic voting day thing you had wasn't democratic at all, even though we had other countries here observing, saying that it is definitely democratic, it is legitimate, and it's more safe and fair than the US elections are. Yep. All that. I'm president now. This is like Nancy Pelosi watching Trump.
Someone less because the group he's a part of, the party he's a part of, is about 12% of the population. I guess Beanie doesn't agree with this, but it's like 12% of the population. So it would be like someone in Rand Paul's group, like his secretary or someone like that, saying, I'm president. That's how it would be. Yeah, which is even scarier. Yeah. I didn't realize that he represented less than 12% of the population. And it happens to be the white colonizing families, if you go back generations, that's who he comes from. And you are not your parents. You are not the people you hang with. That is not what we're saying. However, that is where he comes from, and he is proud and he embraces it. So that is what I'm saying about him.
Yeah. So just to bring it back, just for keeping with my normal analogy, because the Rand Paul thing's right, except Rand Paul and Trump are kind of in the same party, right? So opposition wise, we'll say like Nancy Pelosi was like, "Fuck you, Donald Trump. You didn't win the election." If he had, or when he did the first time, and saying, "No, no, 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 no. Yas Queen is the president now," and um, all of the Democrats, um, all of like the Democrats that are really just blue dog Democrats, all going, "Yes, Queen. Donald Trump is an illegitimate president. Yada yada yada. She is just the president." Because even if Donald Trump hadn't won in this metaphorical scenario, dethroning him, the king, the president, who is democratically elected, even if it's not legitimate, that doesn't by default make whoever said that's not legitimate the legitimate president, right? It's not like a finders keepers thing. It's not like you shouldn't have won, so that means I won, because they weren't even on the ballot. They chose to not be on the ballot. Was a thing. Now they've kept this up for about 2 years. The Biden administration just recognized Juan Guaido as the rightful heir or the rightful president of Venezuela, which basically means they're going to keep trying to do dirty little war crimes to get him into power and overthrow democracy in Venezuela. Now, the funny part, because this is actually funny, those of you who have been watching me talk about this off and on for the last 2 years, this news would be likened to Nancy Pelosi lost her seat in Congress. Juan Guaido is no longer the chairman of his party. He doesn't have that power anymore. He's not even the leader of his party to pretend like he's the president anymore. That's Christy, may I have your happy words on this?
Yes. Although, as a humanist, I do not like him. If I don't believe in magic, however, if he just went poof and wasn't here anymore, I wouldn't blink an eye or cry. I would be interested in knowing how that happened, but not about getting him back. However, we don't live in a world with dragons and magic. What we do live in a world where he failed is how they see it, not their plan. He failed. And unfortunately, he has to be careful because we could find him missing, never to be seen again, poisoned, in an accident. He is public enemy number one in Venezuela when it comes to the civilians.
Yeah.
And I would not want to be him and walk into, like a downtown square full of Venezuelan, natives, the people who are born and raised there, because they think that he was trying to overthrow their government. And even though they think that, it's also a fact.
Yeah.
I mean, I think things that aren't facts all the time, like unicorns are beautiful, which, no, that is a fact. However, they just don't exist, which is really sad. Norhalls do, and I do believe in them, and they are the unicorns of the sea. So.
All right. So, yeah, I don't have a whole lot more to add to that right now. I wanted to go into more of the sanctions on Venezuela because they're pretty bad, and they're even keeping them from.
Biden's just when it comes to foreign policy.
Oh yeah.
He is going to just continue. I mean, if COINTELPRO was still going on, he'd be like, kick it up a notch.
Yeah, and GUPS Gup's saying down below.
I just appreciate Gup's comments. Let's take a gander.
To look at the gray zone.
Yeah, he's not loved in Venezuela, brother. Not at all. He has to keep a posse with him at all times. And not because he's cool and like, this is my posse. He's like, please, posse, stand around. I mean, guards that I'm paying so well. But can I call you posse? Can I call you guys my posse? Please, can I be cool just a little bit longer?
Right?
Yeah.
I did just post a link to the gray zone, and they're like Venezuela, like category. Like
Yeah,
so
I have had a couple times where I've disagreed with the gray zone recently on some things, and it's not necessarily a disagreement. It was more of a don't be so hyperbolic about it. People right now are so divided. You know, I get it. That's your opinion, but I really would prefer, and I love the gray zone. So this is just a positive criticism. We can all use those. You know, a critique. I would state the facts. Show us how you know how. They do a good job of that. But then say, and now here's our opinion on it. So people can know the difference. Because unfortunately, media literacy is non-existent in this country. And that doesn't, I know it's so sad that I have to say this in this day and age. That's not everyone, people. That was not a blanket statement. It was just in general. But I have to. So how about that weather? No, I'm just kidding. I do want to say something that happened just a little while ago that I think is worth mentioning. I'm a free speech absolutist, as our Smitty knows. I would never say FAGGOT out loud. I don't feel comfortable saying it, and I'm gay. It's just maybe it was the way I was raised. I just would never say it out loud. However, I would never, I would march with the people for their right to say that word. Same with the NIGGA. I don't feel comfortable. You know, I do have a couple friends who their skin is much more dark and beautiful than mine and say it all the time. I'm not offended. I just like, are you that brittle? Like, I don't know. So, and I would stand for their right. I would march with them for their right to say it. It's a word. It's the intent. You know, if two guys meet up and they're like, hey, NIGGA, has nothing to do with me. I'm not going to be like, you said that word. Now, if it was, you know, some sort of a tractor driving up, saying something to a black guy and it was not a black guy on there, I probably would be like, not offended, but like hurt. Like, you asshole, you're out here trying to hurt people. That being said, being a free speech absolutist, the Mark Twain Award is the highest award our nation gives. And Dave Chappelle just won it.
I didn't know that.
Look up on Netflix, Dave Chappelle wins the Mark Twain highest national comedic award for his free speech, for his calling out a brittle spirit when he sees it. A brittle spirit is if two people are talking and this one says, I just don't really believe in God. And this one says, I can't believe that, and pushes a whole bunch of Christian stuff on them. And this person reads it and then sends back facts why that isn't real. And this one blocks him. That's a brittle spirit. That means like you don't have an argument. You're like, you can't be my friend no more. I don't need those in my life. And that's the problem. I think my daughter's home because it's a specific kind of cry. I will mute unless you guys want to hear that. Nobody wants to hear. You're like, yeah, that's great. I will mute it. You dance for everybody, Mac. I'll be right back.
All right. I am not going to dance, only because I think I can do better. So, anyways, I did post that link down below in the live chat.
She's definitely home.
Definitely. And
it's my baby. Hello. Hi, Uncle Mac. Hi, Uncle Mac. Oh. That's where all that sound's coming from, you guys. This tiny little thing. His ears can hear in China. What are they talking about, Bina? Tell me. All right. I think I take it on the next story.
You are totally welcome to.
Ooh-wee.
'Cause I
I
was
mean,
just
unless,
gonna because
yeah. Talk to our chat, and then I'll move on from there.
do it.
Ooh, Brantley used a bad word.
Oh, I saw that.
What am I supposed to do with him? Nothing. I'm a free speech absolutist. Sometimes you just gotta say that word.
Uncle?
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one.
Oh,
So
goodness.
your fun stuff is the Black Panther Party.
It is. Because,
So
I
what
picked easy topics for some reason.
I think we both a little bit. The next one's going to be quite interesting, though. Got a good little curveball for us.
Hey,
But so what's made you want to cover the Panther Party this week?
I've always been interested in people who are brave, people who know the norms and know they're wrong and do something about it. I'm just so drawn to that. Now, in the households, multiple, that I was raised in, I never heard a word of praise for the Black Panthers. Not only did I never hear a word of praise, I actually heard negative ideas about them. And because of going through all of the things that I've gone through, letting go of magical thinking, I did this part, that kind of critical thinking and letting go things with the Black Panther Party a decade ago, like a long time ago. But coming back to it, knowing that there is a film that is opening this past Friday night at the film festival, and it is, oh gosh, it is called, what is it called? I will come back to it, but it's got a great name, and it is 2 hours long. But everyone who's seen it has said that you do not feel like it's 2 hours. You want it to keep going. Now, with all of this coming out, and I have a whole, the next generation with me. I have daughters. I have my youngest one still lives with me. I need them to have the education that wasn't in our books. And I learned none of this in school. So I'm going to start off with just some basics just to kind of get us into, you'll be able to see where we are, to feel where we are. And then I'll go into some of the things that we may or may not know about the Black Panthers. The Black Panther original name was the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. That was their original name. African American Revolutionary Party. And their revolution, the revolution they wanted, which will never be talked about, was socialism, was democratic socialism. They didn't want to fight with weapons. They didn't want a civil war. They just wanted people to have food when they were hungry and shoes because they grew out of them. And I'll come back to the hungry and the shoes because they just changed our entire nation. They really did. Hoover was our president. And if you know anything about Hoover, he's a bigot ass racist punk. Yeah, I said it. And I'm not apologizing. He was a bigoted racist punk who was too insecure with his manhood. I'll stop. I'm getting to. I'm getting to. But I mean every word of that. It was founded in 1966 in Oakland, California, by Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale. The party's original purpose was to patrol African American neighborhoods to protect residents from acts of police brutality. So you got to imagine the police are who you call, right? Not in this neighborhood. The police were there to cause trouble, to arrest you, to ask you why you were on your way to the store. What do you have in your pockets? Did you steal it? It never ended. It was in Jim Crow, you guys. This is We haven't come out of it yet. We're at the very tail end of it, which means that all the white people or people who are entitled to being above other people were really coming down hard because they were holding on for all dear life. The civil rights could not happen. So this is before Martin Luther King passed. Obviously, you heard the date. You guys know this stuff. Okay. The Panthers eventually developed into a Marxist revolutionary group. Now, I hate that it says that because they were from the beginning. This is something that they would have long conversations about. They were a very intellectual group. They talked about, this book and this theory and that theory and how we could implement it. And kids were showing up in the morning, at school. And the teachers would call home and, they don't want to do anything. These poor babies hadn't eaten. They're starving. They have to wait until lunch. And back then there was no school lunch. There was no breakfast. So if you didn't bring it, you didn't eat it. That's wrong. It's wrong. So they got together and they literally went around to butchers and bakers and fruits, everyone they could find, white, black, Spanish, Mexican, which is still Spanish, but Asian, everyone. And everyone said, yeah, sure, we can help you. So it's a little bit different than the books say. And they started providing food in their LA chapter, in their Chicago chapter, and then another chapter, and then another chapter. And it became such a big deal that Hoover had to implement it. He had to outdo what he called the dumb blackies. I know, just hearing myself say it, I want to punch myself in the face. But he just saw them as ignorant, and which means that he is ignorant. So a revolutionary group, after they've developed into Marxists, and then for all the arming of the African Americans that they did. So now we have a true leftist group who is following Marxist ideology, and they're arming themselves. Why? I would fucking arm myself if I were a Black Panther in the 1960s. That's the only defense you're going to have between you and the cop that's wanting you to try something, walk funny. They literally had to, if a cop was walking one way, or even a white man that could cause trouble, to look down. They couldn't even look them in the eye. And there comes a point in a group of people's lives where they're not going to take it anymore. And this was it. This is what had happened. So the revolutionary group called for the arming of African Americans, and not just the Black Panthers. The exemption of African Americans from the draft and from all sanctions of so-called white America, the release of all African Americans from jail, and the payment of compensation to African Americans for centuries of exploitation by white Americans because they built this country. At its peak in the late 1960s, Panther membership exceeded 2,000, and the organization operated chapters in several major cities. So that's just a little, you guys can look all that up yourself. That's very easy to do. But I really want to talk to you about this, and I have one more after this. The truth about the party that brought people to power. Black Panther Party co-founder Bobby Seale says the real story of the Black Panther Party hasn't been told. Found this very, very, very fun to read. Bobby Seale, who co-founded the Black Panther Party, listens to a question during an interview at the Eastside Arts Alliance and Cultural Center in Oakland, California. The Panthers emerged from the gritty city 50 years ago, declaring a new party dedicated to defending African Americans against police brutality in their area, in their neighborhoods, and in their homes, and protecting their rights per the Constitution. Bobby Seale was an engineering design major at Merritt College in Oakland, California, working at Kaiser Aerospace and Electronics and in the Gemini missile program. I'm sorry, any of you guys could do that? No, I couldn't. So obviously we're talking about people who are also very bright and brilliant and understand science and math. Like this one, geometry, I got you. Everything else, I'm kind of like, I'm gonna need a calculator. So with the Kaiser Aerospace and Electronics in the Gemini missile program, when he first heard Martin Luther King Jr. speak in 1962, King encouraged the 7,000 folks in the Oakland auditorium to boycott the Wonder Bread Company because of its refusal to hire people of color. Seale, in his mid-20s then, was inspired by King's words. He understood boycotts could work. He quit his engineering job and set up a youth program in North Richmond, California. Afterward, he worked for the city government of Oakland as a community liaison for the North Oakland Neighborhood Service Center, finding jobs for the unemployed, and so much more. But Seale believed there could be more progress if more African Americans were elected to political offices. As low, start at the school board. It doesn't matter. Just get in there, is what he believed. In October 1966, Seale and Huey P. Newton founded the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, a political organization with a slogan of power to the people. Most people get it wrong. What do they say? Power to Black people. Which, yes, power to Black people too. However, that's not his saying, so don't put those words in his mouth. Power to the people. And that changes later on to include more, to be more inclusive. They evolved and just evolved with the times, as every society should do. But the public focused more on the members' uniforms and gun-toting police patrols than its 10-point platform and program, which called for, among other things, jobs, decent housing, quality education, and an end to police brutality. And get this, they wanted fair trials. Up until this point, they had never been judged in front of a jury of their peers. 1966, not one Black person had been judged before a jury of their peers. They had been judged before a jury of white people. All white people. That's not a jury of your peers. It just isn't. I'm sure he didn't know, they're not from the same neighborhood. They don't hang around the same, those aren't his peers. And there's nothing wrong with, in the future utopia I would like to live in, with it wouldn't matter what color humans are because we're all the same. But we're talking about a totally different time. As though I would like to add right now, today, if someone who was of color had to go to court and the jury was all white, I would have a problem with that. So I'm just going to put that out there as well. Okay, and then he wanted also an end to police brutality. FBI director at the time, J. Edgar Hoover, who deemed the Black Panther Party a threat to American security, launched a not so subtle counterintelligence attack against the group. Anyone know what that one was called? Let me see. Anyone? Let me know if someone mentions. I'll write it over here in our chat. If someone mentions that, they get points and mad hugs from me. Awesome. All right. So they launched a not so subtle counterintelligence attack against the group, which included infiltrators and deadly raids. By the time the group was dismantled in the mid-1970s, 28 members had died, including Fred Hampton. Mark Clark and Bobby Hutton, who at 16 years old was one of the Panthers' first recruits. Hutton was killed by Oakland police officers on April 6, 1968, 2 days after the death of Dr. Martin Luther King. Many more Panthers were imprisoned, and some, like Eldridge Cleaver, I think it's Cleaver, Eldridge Cleaver, fled the United States. Okay, we'll call him at the end. That's awesome. Seal ran unsuccessfully for mayor in Oakland in 1973, but remained in community activism. Today, at the age of 80, this ex-Black Panther, who is still a Black Panther through and through, his focus is on infrastructure, climate change, and the bills to make them happen. At 80, you guys, come on. I feel a little lazy when I hear stuff like that. Which he believes would yield 3 million to 5 million jobs for the working class poor. And he's correct if you've read the Green New Deal. So just putting that out there. Steele is also working on a documentary he says would highlight the FBI's efforts to destroy the Black Panther Party, including a never before heard conversation between Hoover and then President Richard Nixon on getting rid of the organization. You guys get a chance to listen to the secret conversation between Hoover and Nixon, do it. Just don't eat anything while you're doing it or prior to, because it might make you nauseous. In commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the founding of the Black Panther Party, Steele recently released a new book with photographer Stephen Shams or Shames. I did it both ways so that it's 1 out of 50. I'm 1 out of 50. 1 out of 100. 50-50. That's what I meant to say. Titled Power to the People, The World of the Black Panther. The book highlights the group's many community programs that are often overlooked in the pages of history. Here he talks with Lottie Joyner about Panther's lasting legacy and the social justice movement of today and how they correlate and are even more relevant today. Say difference between it. Yes, I know. Okay, first of all, the difference between Hoover and Nixon, they're both white to me. All white people look the same. I've been wanting to say that since I was born. I mean, if you can't have fun, probably this is the wrong channel. And if your feelings get hurt because of words, stay. This is the right channel. And I'm not sorry. And I meant it. And thicken up. Okay. We're humanists. We want you here. But words can't. You got to be able to take it. As Dave Chappelle says, that's a brittle spirit if words hurt you. And we need soldiers. That's like my favorite line of his from this last year. We need soldiers. Yes. Freaking love it. Okay, so here's the conversation. Lottie Joyner says, why did you start the Black Panther Party 50 years ago? Bobby Seale. When I created the Black Panther Party, I was just trying to get a political organization going so we could get more politicians who are Black. Black power came out. That's the one thing to advocate, Black power. But I was telling the guys around, I said, you ain't going to have Black power or power at all until we get more political seats, more city council seats, more I'm gonna leave that one to you. Supervisoral. There we go. Seats. You guys know I'm so super dyslexic. The words are like, blah, 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 figure it out. Supervisoral seats. More sheriff seats. This is what our African American people's community have to have so we can deal with the legislative policies and allocation of monies and funds for programs, jobs, schools, etc. That's where the power is. Joyner says, what are the biggest misconceptions about the Black Panther Party? Steele, the biggest misconception is the FBI said the Black Panthers hated all white folks. How could we hate white folks when we protested along with thousands of them? Thousands of our white left radical and white liberal friends. We worked in coalition with each other, in coalition in the Asian community, in coalition in the Puerto Rican community, and coalition with the Native American community organizations, and the coalition with the Hispanic, Puerto Rican, or all brown people, I should say. And he says that twice, but I'm just reading. I had coalitions with 39 different organizational groups crossing all racial and all organizational lines, all beliefs. I had a coalition actually with SCLC, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, Dr. Martin Luther King's SCLC, particularly centered around Poor People's March. They had a coalition with 100 different other organizations, and we joined it. I saw it as chairman of the Black Panther Party that we should and would work with Dr. King to do that. Remember when I told you liberation theology, I could get down with that? I'm sure that was him thinking, I might not agree with all these things, like the God part or this part, but their goals and willing to take anyone in, I'm down for that. I could work with that and work for that. Joiner. In some circles, the Black Panthers were considered militant and opposed the nonviolent actions of Dr. King. Seal. Not true. Period. We exercised the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America that, by law, gives us the right, the civil right, to peacefully assemble and to peacefully redress our grievances. We had a number of peaceful rallies, etc., all across this country, just like Dr. King. The only thing we said was, quote, if these racists come in here and attack us, we will defend ourselves, end quote. Whoosh, right back at you, white people. I just love them. I just love that bravery because they didn't hurt anybody. They just, that picture that is our thumbnail, you guys, when I saw that Nacha made that our thumbnail, I mean, I could have prayed to someone's God. Okay. I don't know. Batman. Sorry, that's because, I mean, there is Batgirl behind you. I should probably wait her, so, you know. Yeah. I mean, she doesn't exist, but neither do hers. Anyway, I'm done being silly. Wait, that's all we. I'm sorry.
I said, wait, I saw her on the CW. She totally exists.
I saw her there too, but I also saw Dean and Sam on Supernatural, and I know they don't exist either, or both of them would be my boyfriend. They're not twins. It's not that gross. Okay. Back to the story. That they would defend themselves. That's all we said. We will defend ourselves. This is offense, not defense. I'm sorry, this is defense, not offense. If you come in here shooting at us, we will defend ourselves. We are defending our constitutional, democratic, civil human rights to have peaceful protests, to be able to register to vote, to be able to unify our people, to be able to win some of those political power seats and future move to change the laws and the racist city charters and supervisory city charters and our county seats. And then he says, and stuff. I swear, I love him. He's like all these big words and stuff. Joiner asked, why did people want to be part of the Black Panther Party? Seal, we were young. The power structure was murdering and killing civil rights workers. They were doing all that crap. And then they came and they killed Dr. King. Do you realize what happened after that? He asks her. I'm being flooded. I mean, flooded with, I want to join the Black Panthers from all over the country. And from the time Dr. King was murdered April 4th, 1968, to the point where Nixon was duly elected to be president in November of that year, that's 7 months. I moved from 400 members up the coast, the West Coast, to 5,000 members and 49 chapters and branches throughout the United States of America. People were angry. Do you realize that? 400 riots occurred all across America for 3 months. It's like this. They killed Dr. King to stop him. If they stop him, they'll stop the protest movement. All they did was cause my organization to grow like wildfire. That's all they did. Then they came around and attacked us until the year of 1969. They attacked more than 20 Black Panther Party offices. Not officers, offices with full of people. Joiner, 50 years after founding the Black Panther Party. What is the state of race relations today? Seal, with this election, we're in dire straits. And he is talking about, what's going on. So our human liberation struggle continues as it has continued from slavery. That's 400 years through Reconstruction, through the 1920s and the 30s, the Depression era, through the 50s and the 60s and back again. Through the 50s and back again through the 60s protest movement, anti-war and civil human rights protest movements largely led by Dr. King and the SCLC, along with the Urban League, CORE, Congress of Racial Equality. Then comes along an organization called the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. And we are talking about all power to the people. See where it changes? Instead of power to all people is their t-shirt. And it has been and will be. And I will rock the fuck out of a Black Panther t-shirt that says power to all the people all day, every day. I'm just letting all of you guys know. And if anybody ever asked me questions about it, I would educate them as nicely as I could and give them some links because I will not be changing that shirt. Okay, so then comes along the organization, the Black Panther Party. And we are talking about now all power to all the people. Yes, our Black power is important, but our Black power is connected with the need for Asian people's power, Hispanic people's power, and even the poor white people's power, all workers' power, who want to be progressive, who want to make a difference. Their power working with us in coalition, that's what the government is afraid of. And I'm telling you, this is why they got killed, because people started showing up, the poorest white with rebel flags on their shirts. And they were like, okay, what can we help you with? You showed up today. We need to hear your grievances. And they worked together, and the government cannot have us do that. The main reason why this type of democracy that we have, I can't even say it right because we don't have one. The way that they can keep it the way that it is to keep us separated, keep the whites mad at the blacks, and the Mexicans are coming to take your job. There has to be an enemy, because if this happens where we all come together, rednecks with rebel flags and Black Panthers with guns for the same reason, it's over. It's over for them. So the white people who want to be progressive, they're so welcome. Their power working with us in coalition is what they're afraid of and what we need to be aware of. Joiner asks, what are your thoughts on the police shootings today? Seal, they are a symptom of the same oppression, occupation, and oppression of the African American community. We are the target of racist laws such as stand your ground and so on. Open carry is a trick. You can carry your gun, but it amplifies to the right wing of white racist types who say, quote, well, I've got my gun, and if I see a Black person, I'll kill him. Hold on. Well, I got my gun, and if I see me a Black person, I'm going to kill him. Sorry, I had to fix it. End quote. There are smart people who don't talk like that, who feel the same. So don't let that be a stereotype. I'm just a goofball. And you guys have ever heard my dad? He talks, Chet, who's always supporting me in chat. He's got a little bit of, some of that in there. So, well, I mean, Tennessee.
All right.
You know, it is what it is.
People down there are super duper nice, though.
Oh, they don't even have to like you to give you the shirt off the bat. They'll be like, well, I don't like the way that you think about things, but you sure look cold. Are you hungry? Because they will feed you.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay. And that's all that they're about. Those kind of laws in this proliferation of guns and giving permission for racists to be able to shoot Black and other people of color by standing their ground, or shoot and kill Muslim citizens here in the United States. That's what they're all about. Joiner, what do you think about Black Lives Matter movement? Seal, one of the original beginners of the Black Panthers Party, says, we know that, but what we're saying here is that we got the information and the state. Black people are killed 20 times the rate of their white counterparts. Too many are innocent, unarmed, what have you. We're saying there's too many police departments who function from a racist manner, who hire people who have been kicked out of the military for racist insurrections in their relationship with Black people and African American communities. That's where they're stationed first, as their first police a lot of times. And that's the way they do it. And they've been doing it all along. We need to have more and more community control of police, duly elected to the ballot. We need duly elected commissioners rather than police chiefs that are appointed. We're going to have duly elected community police review boards that will have to investigate powers with special prosecutors and with special lawyers and legal representation, none of them bought by corporations. We want it all duly elected by the people, not appointed by a mayor or consented by the again. Woohoo!
There you are. What happened?
I have no clue. My daughter might have turned her light off on accident.
Oh.
I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. But I'm glad.
I thought my internet went out. I'm like, uh-oh, which one of us is gone?
It's Izzy's fault. I shall beat her rightfully later. Okay, there's just a little bit more on what he has to say about this. Duly elected. Okay. And boards that will have investigative powers with special prosecutors, with special lawyers and special representation. We want it all duly elected people, not one person appointed ever again and consented by the city council. We don't want that no more. We just don't, because your police department winds up investigating itself with the local prosecutor, and then they don't even have to charge the cop when there's questionable evidence that the person is acting wrong, or evidence that they have done wrong. Even if it's negligence or deliberate murder, the person doesn't go to jail. Greater community control on police on the community level. This has got to happen, and I hope in my lifetime. The Black Lives Matter movement has to learn, and I want to teach them and be a part of it.
I think Izzy turned off her light again. So that bites. So we'll give Christy just a minute here, see if she comes back. For those of you who don't know why Izzy turning her light off is a big deal, is because that's where Sorry about that. If you didn't hear, Never's like, bye, that was a show. Yeah, we like to end very abruptly here. If you guys didn't hear, I was kind of just giving you the update that Christy's daughter, the um, the router is in her room, and the room has the kind of light switch dealio that it turns off all the power in the room. So if she flipped her light switch off instead of her lamp or something, then it would like shut off the whole router, and she probably has to kick the internet back on and reconnect. Anyways, so we're trying to get her back up, and in the meantime, I guess we'll just move on. Chet says, well, that was anticlimactic. So sorry about that, everyone. And hello, Carlos. Welcome. All right. Let me see. I don't want to wait too long for, so the next topic. Let's just go to the next topic. Ravi Zacharias. If you guys don't know who this is a Christian leader who has just recently died. Actually, I wanted to pull up when he passed away because I didn't know actually, not right offhand. In May 19th, 2020, in Atlanta, Georgia. He is the leader of his own church. It's the RZIM, Ravi Zacharias International Ministries. And as I just said, he passed away almost a year ago now. And since then, some really interesting things have popped up, come to light, we'll say. The RZIM ministries here, they actually hired because of a plethora of sorry, I'm trying to pull up the right thing. A plethora of complaints, of accusations, of sexual misconduct, putting it mildly, or starting at just sexual misconduct and going all the way to rape and even beyond. So this is a really, really interesting story, and I don't want to go through the whole thing, but I do want to link the report that the RZIM funded. They hired a firm, Miller, I believe. Let me look it up. RZIM. And open letter. Yes. So I will link this down in our chat real quick, so you guys can open this up. And I also wanted to link, I won't only link things, I'll give you guys more, but I want to make sure you guys have the same information that I used researching this, because it was very helpful and it was very surprising. If I can find it, I apologize. Oh, there it is. Okay. Awesome. All right. Now on to the story. And hi, Christy. All right. So this this Ravi Zacharias, turns out this minister who had who I forget what it was called. The board of directors, him, they had a fund that that people donated to, and they were supposed to give that money to like missionary trips and just spreading the word of God wherever they could reach from this ministry. And what he ended up using a decent amount of the money on, at least tens of thousands of dollars worth of these funds went to massage therapists, and not just the chains of um, massage parlors, we'll say, but specific massage therapists who were trying to get through school or who were trying to just catch up on bills, just multiple personal situations, which could be really nice. But if it was very nice, would I be talking about it? So ask yourself that. So what Ravi Zacharias is accused of doing, and it looks pretty grim, even though he's dead, he definitely took advantage of a lot of these women. And he touched some of them very inappropriately. He asked them for more than a massage. He learned how to say, go lower, go further. That's not enough. You have beautiful eyes. He had a list of little phrases that he could use on massage therapists all over the world in different languages. So he knew how to either sweet talk or victimize any massage therapist that he was able to come in contact with, and he thought was hot, that he could have a chance to victimize, basically. And the report is quite quite surprising, because RZIM, they realized that this investigation was more than they could handle themselves, so they did hire a law firm that's more equipped to handle corporate and sexual misconduct kind of cases. And they really dug things up. All of the evidence, I'm sorry, not all of the evidence, a large amount of the evidence comes from multiple phones that Ravi Zacharias has had over the years, stretching back to, I think, 2010. And also one or two laptops of his as well. And all of these show that he had relationships, either personal physical or like personal like emotional relationships with multiple women around the world, that of which was not his wife, of which he was married to for nearly 50 years. So why are we talking about it here tonight? For multiple reasons, but one is because absolute power corrupts absolutely. We talk about that a lot in this show. We usually talk about it in the sense of a corporation and its workers, but sometimes we talk about it in the religious sense, and sometimes, like tonight, I want to talk about it more in not just the broader religious sense, but more in the when you're a church leader, where people trust you, very much like in the Catholic Church story that I had done, or that I covered. I didn't do the grand jury report myself. I just covered it 2 or 3 years ago in August. When you use someone's religion to take advantage of them and tear down the walls, make them trust you, make yourself feel like a father figure or an authority figure to someone who looks up to you like that. It's very, very disgusting. It makes you think of the old phrase, "There's a special place in hell," right? Because those in power have a responsibility. And with great power comes great responsibility. Those phrases mean something, and they mean something because they have to, right? We say these phrases because we realize that when people have an extraordinary amount of power over others, whether it's just because of trust or just because of money or position, it's really easy to take advantage of people under you. And it's disgusting, and it needs to be called out whenever it happens. Now, Ravi Zacharias had his own ministry. He had written many books on marriage and on faith, and he was seen as some kind of powerhouse. And when you're seen with that much power, whether it's religiously or corporately or any other way, people with power don't only incur trust among their peers and their followers, but also they give off fear at the same time. Why I bring this up? There's a woman named Lori. Let me find the full name here. Lori. No, I do not want to check out your ad right now. I'm looking for a name. Lori. I apologize. I just have to Google it. Lori Ann Thompson. Lori Ann Thompson. I apologize. So back in 2017, Lori Ann Thompson and her husband contacted Ravi Zacharias, telling him that he needs to pay monetarily for damages to their lives that Ravi had incurred, I'll say, because he is in a position of power, as I was just saying, and he used that power to get Lorianne in a position to where she trusted him, would listen to pretty much anything he said, and got her to send him more promiscuous pictures as time went on, and some were nudes, and this hurt her marriage, obviously, right? And the couple decided together that the way that he went about this was very predatory like, and that they wanted compensation for damages done to them personally, and he sued them under I forget what the act is called, but basically for trying to defame his name. And they threatened to drag the hearing out for years, and then they had a non-disclosure agreement. He basically gag ordered them, and they felt like there was nothing they could do but sign, and they did. And then he broke the non-disclosure agreement almost immediately by putting his own um, thoughts and words out through the RVIM, and they still weren't really able to talk, or they didn't know if they could. It's still up in the air because the RZIM is still not letting them. I'm sorry, no, not the RZIM. Ravi Zacharias's estate holder would have that non-disclosure agreement, and they are not allowing that gag order to be lifted partially or for any reason right now, even though there's a huge investigation going on, or has just had gone on, and I think is being built to currently. And it's this is just one thing he did. I didn't really get to the extent of the damage. You can imagine the kind of damage that goes into one family who has to deal with something like this. But when going to court with a powerhouse such as Ravi Zacharias, that hurt them financially, obviously, and I don't know the numbers. But when they lost, or when they were gag ordered, when they settled, the entire community turned on them and acted like Ravi Zacharias was the victim, and they were just trying to defame his name to make money. Her husband was known as a pimp, just trying to make money off of Ravi Zacharias, just trying to pimp out his wife, and that ruined their lives and their kids' lives, and they had to move from their community. They had to sell the house that they had built at a loss and move to a new city with a loan that was not great. So it really struck them financially and reputation-wise horribly. And Ravi Zacharias never owned up to it, which you wouldn't expect him to. But something that's really interesting, as I said, the investigation included information on his phones and his computers, his emails. Before, a little bit during, and after this Thompson case, he still did the same thing with multiple women, just groomed them to become victims for his sexual pleasure. It's really quite the interesting story, we'll say. And it really is sad, and it really is, it has something to say about power. And it's not just religion, it's not just money, it's power in general. But there is something to be said about the and I brought this up very, very staunchly in my video on the Catholic priest hearing. And hello, Christy, welcome back.
I did it, but I've been listening, so I'm caught up. Yes, go ahead, keep going.
So my point, one of my biggest beefs about this was that, about the Catholic story, was the authority that the Catholic Church assumes it has, says it has, so it has. RZIM they showed similar authority. They Do you need me to be louder? You're pointing at your ears. And now Christy's gone again. No, Christy. She was signing something to me and then she was gone. So, anyways, I can't watch her. She's gone. She's all the way gone now. It's almost better. I couldn't pay attention and see this. Okay. Issue is when these churches have authority in cases of sexual misconduct, in cases of abuse, in cases of anything domestic or criminal, anything, the churches shouldn't be taking care of it. We don't expect a private company to take care of sexual misconduct or a crime in the workplace without reporting it to the authorities, right? That would be not the best way to go about things. When there's corruption in a corporation or a church or any private thing, it's not really held accountable unless you have accountability outside of the corrupt organization or person. And it's hard to say that RZIM is not responsible for some of these actions, because in 2017, when he was asked to prove that he wasn't at fault for these actions, he got defensive, he got irate, and he didn't hand over any information or give any evidence that he was innocent. He just stated he was, and gave no power to his board of the RZIM to legitimately back him up. It was just his word. And that's always an issue every single time I see one of these stories. It always is. It's just that it needs to be handled within the church, within the corporation. And that's just not how accountability works. It's not how accountability works. And I am a very big proponent of, when anything happens, since it's the topic, in your church that you think is wrong and needs to be dealt with not inside the church, go outside the church. Go outside the church and get it taken care of. That's the only way it will be taken care of. And it's really sad to see when these things happen. And I really urge you all. This one's still playing. I'm gonna put these links down below. The first one is by a YouTuber, Mike Winger. He's a Christian YouTuber, and he had a bunch of Ravi Zacharias' books, and he read the entire report, which I thought I had a link to here. Investigation, yeah, it's linked here. And this other link that I'm going to give you guys. He read the whole report in about an hour and 43 minutes. So I really appreciate him doing this. I extra appreciate it because when Steve Ballman, an atheist blogger, Facebooker, I don't know if he has a channel, Steve Ballman, he did some investigative work, and he reported on a lot of this back in 2017, and still pointing stuff out in 2019 and 2020. And Mike Winger here didn't believe any of it and didn't give it any credit. He was pretty open about, like, he kind of didn't want it to be true either, but when he really looked at it and read it, he felt like he was compelled to just read the whole report for all of his viewers to see. And I appreciated that he came out and said, like, as much as Ravi Zacharias has been built up for all of his work, whether it may be good material or not, like, we need to condemn him just as strongly. And I really appreciated that. It was very unbiased and very objective of him to do, and I really appreciated it. So that's why I gave you his link to go check out. It's an hour and 49 minutes and 35 seconds long. It's really worth listening to. You may not agree with everything he says, with how he views the situation, but he goes through the whole report, and he deals with it the best way he can with his worldview, and I really admired it. So, from a humanist perspective, that's what you got. Christy, we miss you. I know you're still there in the chat. I really appreciate you sticking with us, even though you couldn't kind of be with us. Now my screen's going wild, so I think it's about my time to go. So thank you everyone for watching. Oh, you know what? There's one more thing. I wanted to say, and I wanted to say it during the Ravi Zacharias thing. I actually wanted to lead with it, but I was discombobulated when I took over because I was still listening to Christy. I'm like, oh no, it's me. I'm not ready. But if you didn't notice, if you guys didn't know, oh, good old what's his face, Rush Limbaugh, died this past week. Died of cancer. I'm not going to go into all of the details. They're easy to look up. I don't care enough to look it up. I did want to point out, and I'll just send you guys another link. How about that? How about I give you guys one more link here to check out, because it will kind of tell you my feelings on Rush Limbaugh being dead. Kyle Kulinski, for the most part, is a man after my own heart. I feel like we're very much cut from a similar cloth, at least in the way that we think. And I really appreciate his view on things. He took a few days after Rush Limbaugh died, and then made a video about how he feels about it. Because the news is he's dead. The other news is he's got shit opinions, and he was a pretty awful person when looking at his worldview and what he said on his show over the past few decades. That, the pocket of Big Seltzer. Thank you, Smitty. You're the best. Kyle noticed online, there's a lot of people mourning Rush Limbaugh. He had a following, like Trump. A lot of Trump's following, even. Or you should probably say vice versa. People who loved Rush Limbaugh would have flocked to Donald Trump in the beginning of the Trump era. Excuse me. And to yin with that yang, there are many people who are celebrating the death of Rush Limbaugh. And both sides thinks that the other sides are full of devils. But from a humanist perspective, I will try to make this as clear as I do cryptic, I suppose. Hey ho, the wicked witch is dead. But that wicked witch had a family, right? He had kids, he had a wife, he had friends, he had parents. That's something to remember, especially when someone awful dies, is that they did have loved ones. So getting online and fighting with someone who's mourning over their personal hero isn't really helpful at the time, at least. There's probably a good way to do it. But if you aren't sure that you have a good way to do it, maybe now's not the best time to be a dick. That doesn't mean you shouldn't go on and be like, I'm kind of glad that guy's dead and he was a big old dick and fuck him. You can do that, but I wouldn't waste your time fighting with someone who disagrees with you. That's not the way to do it. If you want to get it out there, that's fine. If you want to fight with someone, that's fine too. But if you liken yourself, or if you think yourself a humanist, then come at it with a little bit of understanding. You don't need to have love for war criminals or people with appalling, disgusting views. But I feel like when awful people die, it is a little bit of a time to celebrate. And it's also a good time to reflect, because you know when someone on your side of the aisle dies, you will be on the opposite side and you will want to fight. And those people don't give a fuck. And who are you better than? So that said, thank you all for watching. Good night. Please join us again next Friday. Same bat time, same bat channel. And we love you guys. Thank you so much. And stay humanist, for God's sake.